All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you listen, whenever you watch, whenever you participate, welcome. I am your humble host, Mark Thompson. More host than humble, really, when I think about it, to be perfectly...
It's all right.
Oh, yeah, baby. That is my darling Kim, who you will see in seconds. I just saw her a moment ago. I guess she feels she's not quite camera ready. But
well, you know, there's mascara that has to be
God,
put
you
on.
hold yourself to a very high standard. I completely understand.
Lip gloss.
This is the last day that this program, for those who are watching live, most of you don't watch live, but those who watch live, it is a pretty robust community. This is the last day that we'll start at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Beginning tomorrow, we go at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
What?
I know, it's a big deal. And we'll go till 1 o'clock Pacific time. So 11 to 1 instead of the 10 to noon. So this show is a special show. Let's rock it. Now, I did just get some really sad news.
What happened?
And I want to see if I can rally someone to talk about this. I know a lot of people who are involved with this guy. Let me tell you about this first.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This news is so sad. Paul Reubens, the actor best known as Pee Wee Herman, has passed away.
Oh, that's
He was
a bummer.
70 years old.
Oh.
I loved Pee Wee's Playhouse, and I love the Pee Wee movies. And I know people who were both with Paul Reubens in the live show as he took Pee Wee's Playhouse, a version of it, around the country. It was just magnificent. And then he did Q&A after the show, at least in the show I saw, and it was really cool. People could ask him about, the origins of characters and how certain things developed. And he was really quite honest and quite, thorough in his responses. And then a good friend of mine did all the set design, like all that look of Pee Wee's Playhouse and everything was done by a good friend of mine. I wonder, maybe we'll get her on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Last night, here's the quote. Last night we said farewell to Paul Reubens, an iconic American actor. Maybe you can grab a picture of him while I do this, Kim.
Yeah.
An iconic American actor, comedian, writer, and producer whose beloved character, Pee Wee Herman, delighted generations of children and adults with his positivity, whimsy, and belief in the importance of kindness. Paul bravely and privately fought cancer for years with his trademark tenacity and wit. A gifted and prolific talent, he will forever live in the comedy pantheon in our hearts and as a treasured friend and man of remarkable character and generosity of spirit. Wow. Well, that is, what? Oh, while I'm reading somebody's obit, you want me to do? All right. Tenacity is a ding word.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that, I'm just saying, what? Prolific? You're right. Okay. Prolific is a ding word. All right.
It's a well-written obit right there.
Well written. And might I just say, Pee Wee would have had ding words. He did have a secret word, right? Pee Wee, if you watch Pee Wee's Playhouse, he had the word. And when somebody said the word, everybody goes crazy. So I think he would approve, actually, of the ding words as we read his those remarks. But Pee Wee Herman, again, Paul Reubens, but best known as Pee Wee Herman, in a way exploded into that 1980s landscape with this throwback. It was both, and isn't this the great creation, if you can do it? It was both for kids and really for adults. There was just, I loved it. I mean, you know, you can tell a little bit. I mean, I don't even mean to comparison in any way, but if whimsy and silly can exist alongside other stuff and other business, it's such a terrific combination. And that's what he did so effectively. That character, though, which I first had seen, I think when he came on talk shows, I think that's when I don't remember how but I don't know how I first became aware of Pee-wee, and I don't know how you first became aware, but he was so funny on talk shows. He just he committed to that character. And there he is with the bike that was in the Pee-wee movie. Truly, truly adored what he did. I thought it was brilliant. So we'll do more on Pee-wee and more on Paul Reubens. Now, I mean, I should tell you, and it should be really, I mean, here I am obsessing about Pee-wee, but the dude was a good actor too. I mean, he played serious stuff too, and I think as he tried to evolve beyond Pee-wee, he was doing more than that. You know, he was really trying to do more than just those kinds of silly characters, right?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't pay attention to his career really. What stands out to me is the big arrest in a theater, and I'm sure he made his way beyond that.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that was his big, you know, that was certainly the low point of his life, you know, getting busted in a movie theater.
Leave it to me to bring it up during his obituary.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair. It was part of, you know, what happened in his life. But, I mean, it was really stage, television, and movies. He did it all. And as I say, he had evolved beyond the Pee-wee character and was very much capable of turning in a serious performance and played a bunch of stuff. And, you know, it's true that he was, he was in the Buffy movie also? I didn't realize that. See, I knew that our audience would know stuff. Yeah. Elise says, brilliant in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. He was on Matilda. He got his start with Cheech and Chong, says Manilow77. Didn't know this. He played the Penguin's dad in Batman Returns.
Oh.
Yeah. But I bought at an auction a photo of Paul Reubens as Pee-wee. It was for a photo shoot done by a very famous photographer. In fact, I'll show it tomorrow, although it's probably Googleable, but I don't know how to Google it. It was an anti-smoking campaign, and he has this face that is like the great clown faces of history, like a Buster Keaton kind of expressive face, like a Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton. Think of all the great faces of comedy, expressive faces of comedy through time. And I'll show you tomorrow. And I bought it at auction to support a charity that, there he is. That's what I'm talking about when he evolved beyond the Pee-wee character. To support this charity anyway. The photo sits in our hallway. Highly intelligent guy, says Laurie S. Gross. Career derailed for a while, and he made his way back from that embarrassing arrest. Yeah, Kim.
Okay, I mean, that's just what I remember about him.
I am just, I'm disgusted that you would bring it up even at a time like this.
Kim, how are you?
Oh, yeah, my
sorry.
God.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. Anyway, Laurie says...
they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Every time I die, they bring up the bad... Maybe if you hadn't been a host of a kids show, it wouldn't have been so bad. Oh, that's interesting. That's a really interesting take just on that point, you know, that moment probably wouldn't have reverberated so much if he hadn't been the host of a kids show. But, yeah, Woodstock movie. He was in Mystery Men. Ageless, timeless comedy, says Maud. He was the spleen in Mystery Men. I'm just trying to get these. His superpower was flatulence. Is that right? That's wild. Are you sure he passed? I think I saw something online that his death report is a hoax. Well, NBC News is reporting it along with the Hollywood Reporter. I hope it's a hoax. I really do. But apparently he'd been fighting cancer for quite some time, quietly. So I used to watch that Saturday morning show, and I loved everything he did. I mean, but really adored that character that he created. So I wish it were a hoax. I don't think it is. Pee Wee Herman passes away at 70.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We have a lot for you today. You came on a good day. In fact, I have to tell you that this being our last 10 a.m. Pacific time show, we started at 10 a.m. because we wanted to parallel KGO Radio. That's the radio station from which we've come. That station packed up. That station changed format, and we reconstituted the show here on YouTube and across podcast platforms as well. But the reason we came on and went 10 to noon was because that was the time that our show aired when it was on KGO. Now we're not bound by that. We still try to honor certain things about the configuration of both the show and with respect to other shows. We try to, like you'll notice, I try to finish around noon because Nikki comes on, and you know what I mean? We don't view ourselves as a standalone entity. So I'm not to get into too much of it, but now we're going to move 11 to 1, and Nikki is going to go on 9 to 11. Those of you who watch the Nikki Maduro show on Nikki Maduro's channel, you should note that she'll come on at 9 a.m. and stay till 11 with her show. We'll come on at 11 on this station, which is the Mark Thompson Show channel, and we'll go until 1. And then Kim starts a show tomorrow called The After Party Live. And you can find it here on YouTube, The After Party Live. So she'll do her show 1 to 2. That's, again, all these times are Pacific times. All right, now, as I say, you came on a great day because we've got so much to do. I just hope we get to it. Bottom of the hour, Courtney will be here, and she will have another mystery of the murderous sort. In the 11 o'clock hour, you'll remember the story, and Kim, I think you sent it to me originally, about, is it the highest rents in the Bay Area? Was that the Foster City article?
Yeah, that's it.
So Foster City, which is a place south of San Francisco, kind of just south of San Francisco, for those who just don't know the Bay Area. The Bay Area's famously got the highest rents, right? San Francisco's got the highest rents, San Jose, et cetera, okay? Yeah, it's the heart of Silicon Valley and all this stuff, and now no one can afford to live there. So anyway, the point is, in all of these places, there's this place, Foster City, which is south of San Francisco, and again, not far from Silicon Valley. So the point is, you wouldn't expect, at least I didn't, maybe you would have, Kim, that this place would have come up with the rents that are the highest in the Bay Area. And it is. It's the place with the highest rents. Now, we have a Foster City correspondent.
We do?
Yes. And we never call on him because there's not really, I think we called on him during the duck controversy there. Remember they had a duck controversy with the poop in the park?
Geese. It was geese's.
Geese. Thank you. Okay, thank
geese.
you.
No plural.
Since then, the Foster City beat has been a little quiet. So now he's back. Dan St. Paul will join us in the second hour. I also have a brilliant That's Rich that includes insider trading, something on the salmon season coming up, strike news from Hollywood, all of that still to come. But there's something else going on, just if I can mention it, in San Francisco that is, it's a little on the wild side, I think.
The Mark Thompson Show.
They put a pulsating X on the Twitter building in San Francisco. I don't know if Kim can
I'll find it.
rally it for you. Yeah. But it's right there. You can, if you click on that piece that's in the rundown, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has angered, though, some people living near the Twitter building because they're at Twitter headquarters, now X headquarters. He has put this logo, the X logo, on top of the building and turned the lights of that logo on. In so doing, the lights of that logo beam right into nearby apartments. So,
What?
yes, people are angry. It is pretty annoying from my perspective, said Jessica Sue, who coincidentally spells her name XU. That is her last name. So it's just ironic, if you will, that she would complain about an X across the street. But she does live across the street, and she's not happy about it.
No.
She's one of many not happy that they've lit up this X at night. And I guess it's a very powerful light that beams directly, quote, into my apartment and lights up my entire place, said Jew. Too bright. Yeah, I would say too bright is the quote. There you see the X lighting up the night.
I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if it was just on, but it's the pulsating, like disco nature of it that makes it annoying, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it might still be an issue if it were on, but your point is a good one, which is that doesn't help it, the pulsating. So he's getting some blowback, not the first blowback. This is a guy who he's like the mayor of Blowbackville. So anyway, thank you, Kim, for putting that up.
What I understand is there's issues with it because it wasn't permitted. He didn't get a permit from the city of San Francisco to go.
That's very Elon, not to get a permit.
Ask for the, can we put the X on top of the building? He just did it.
Yeah.
And now it glows and pulsates and throbs and
right. Yeah, there you go. It's pretty wild.
Tell your little friends the dreams do come true.
Yeah, you got that right. The throbbing, pulsating, whatever. There you go. That's that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
You know, it's weird that we have a massive nursing shortage in California and we can't figure out how to fill the jobs. It's really wild. Since COVID-19, the number of nurses at hospitals in California dropped and has now hit levels at which officials are quite concerned.
Yeah.
Many nurses are under a lot of pressure because of steep understaffing that is driving more people out of the industry. So it's sort of a, self-perpetuating cycle. According to the Hospital Association, nursing vacancy rates among local hospitals in Southern California, these are vacancy rates, exceed 30%. Before the pandemic, what was the average? It's 30% now, the vacancy rate. 6%. So this is crazy. And apparently just in the last year and a half or so, it's really gotten worse. Now the legislature is looking at several ideas to address the nursing shortage by bringing in more early career nurses into the field. So far, though, they really don't know how to solve this staffing problem in California's healthcare workforce.
Well, can you imagine being a worker in the healthcare field and COVID comes along and you're told, listen, we don't know what much about this yet. It's the novel coronavirus. We're still learning about it. We know it kills people. We know people are dying. We know people are getting really sick. Go on and go to work. No extra pay for you. No hazard pay. No, not enough masks to go around. Oh, well, just go to work and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's not fake. That's real.
That's right. That was trouble. You're absolutely right, Kim. I mean, and it's funny. I think it's easy to lose track of that context. I think I lost track of it. But you're right. In the heat of the battle, we didn't know a lot about COVID, and we didn't have sufficient protective gear for them to wear. It was really a mess.
And you know what they did? They went to work.
Yeah.
They went to the hospital. They went to the COVID ward. They tried to save people. Some people got COVID. Some people didn't survive it just because they got it at work.
Yeah.
A lot of healthcare professionals were among the first to get it, right? Because they put themselves right in the line of fire. So I just, huge respect for people. And I completely get the burnout and why people would be stepping back from the profession and why, young people looking at what careers to go into might have a second thought after all that.
Very well said. Very well said. RN Sue says it was terrifying. We were treated as expendable.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They said the exact same thing to every retail worker too, Kim, says Eric Kennedy. And service worker as well. That's true. I mean, there was a sense of, look, the awful example of it during the beginning of the pandemic. Here's this highly transmissible illness that's killing people. And in the slaughterhouses, they forced workers to go back to work. You'll remember that. They called them meat processing plants. They're slaughterhouses. Mm-hmm. And they did something else. They not only forced them to go back to work, and there was a carve-out. The Trump administration gave them a carve-out, like they considered them emergency workers. And they also allowed, this is the last administration, the Trump administration, those companies to be indemnified from any damage caused by COVID-19 transmission inside their plant, the slaughterhouse. So there was no, stay with me, and this because this is across the board, this happened in the early stages of COVID and the pandemic. There was no mitigation process undertaken at all inside those plants. In other words, there was no spacing, there was no special change to what they were normally doing to help mitigate the transmission of the illness. Mitigate is a dang word. And the reality is that a lot of people got sick, and they were generally, you'll remember, in this country illegally. And so a lot of them, they deported, they really were in that tough situation where they couldn't complain. They were just happy to have work. Most of these meat processing places are, well, they're staffed by people who are either in the country illegally or they're in very low income situations where they're desperate for the work. But that was, again, those are the early stages of the pandemic, and that was in that industry. It was considered a critical industry, right? And those were considered emergency workers alongside those retail workers, grocery workers who were given a bump in pay, a modest hourly bump in pay for a while, as you'll recall. And then finally, nurses who were there on the front lines as they're bringing people in who definitely have COVID, right? It was quite, anyway, we end up in this place as the dust more or less settles, and we have a massive nursing shortage in California. So there's just no denying it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Trader Joe's has a big recall underway. I'll get to the Trump stuff, by the way, in the next few minutes or in the second hour. Trader Joe's recalls 2 more. I know there are a lot of people waiting. How about the Trump stuff, Mark? Get to the Trump stuff. Trader Joe's recalls 2 more items over rocks.
They're having a rough week, I'll tell you.
And now insects, too.
Gross.
Just 4 days ago, Trader Joe's said 2 types of cookies also might have rocks. And they are saying that they have 2 new recalls that might have non-food items, is what they call them, in them.
What's going on with the manufacturing process there?
The company said it's fully cooked falafel.
Oh.
Yeah, the fully cooked falafel. That's really the way I like my falafels, fully cooked.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. It was sold in 35 states and Washington, D.C., but apparently this is the good news for many of you, not all of you. If you're fully cooked falafel consumers, it was sold in 35 states and Washington, D.C., but apparently not in this state, California. Finally, California gets a break.
So if we can eat our falafel.
Yes, your fully cooked falafels are fine. The latest recall sounds familiar, perhaps, because just 4 days ago, the chain said 2 types of cookies also might have rocks, recalling both those cookies. The windmill cookies Joe's almond windmill cookies and Trader Joe's dark chocolate chunk and almond. Well, they really put the chunk in chunk this week. So
it's fantastic.
Okay, Trader Joe's said its supplier alerted them to the rocks in the treats and the falafel. So it was the supplier. Don't blame Trader Joe's. They have pulled the unexpected broccoli cheddar soup also because it might have what? Insects in the mix. Yeah.
I love the name Unexpected Broccoli Soup. Unexpected is absolutely right. Well, hello, Grasshopper.
It was great. I loved it.
All right. Well, no known adverse health effects have been reported to date, and all potentially affected product has been removed from sale and destroyed, the company says. If you have questions about your Trader Joe's purchases, you can call a number. I don't know. If you want to reach out to us, we'll give you that number. I think it's Googleable as well. Yeah, you don't need it from us.
Google it.
Yeah, exactly.
I have questions.
You do?
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, jeez. Well, it's
rocks and bugs and.
I mean,
this is no picnic, no summer camp.
That's right.
I mean, really.
Yeah, summer camp. They didn't have these issues. All right, so that's
The Mark Thompson Show.
That's a Trader Joe's story. So I don't know if there's quite a moment here. What I'd love to do, I do want to talk about the Trump PACs and PAC money. I also have, I really want to talk about, in fact, I'm going to do it now. You'll forgive me for putting all you Trumpies who, I know you can often be jihadists on this Trump thing, and I don't blame you. I think Trump is a very dangerous force in America that reveals a lot about America that's not so good. I think he's a threat to democracy and et cetera, et cetera. So I sign on to all of that, but I'm not doing all Trump all the time, but I will get to that today because it's a big story. And another one of those, another Trump employee, I think is in closed testimony today. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that said, I'm thinking Kim will probably have it in the news. We will get to Trump later. My question that I feel I must ask Kim now before her news is about Taylor Swift, because something happened on this show that was quite extraordinary. So you'll give me a second and let's just ask her about that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Over the weekend, Taylor Swift came to the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a big, big stop on her tour. I will tell you that I read reviews of the show, and apparently it was spectacular. She did 3.5 hours, which is way past like curfews and all the other stuff that they impose. She put on a hell of a show. Now, you couldn't get tickets to this, but somehow, and you're welcome is all I have to say, Kim, a listener viewer did reach out to Kim.
Yes.
And Kim was actually gifted tickets to Taylor Swift.
What?
And they were nice tickets, too. They were great. Yes.
Wow.
And it's funny because for the last, more than 2 decades, I've been the one on the radio giving tickets to other people, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so this is really, I mean, to have someone reach out and do this with tickets that they could have sold for thousands and thousands of dollars. What a gift. What an absolute gift. So I gave the tickets to my daughter, who is 14 years old today.
What?
And to my niece, who is a major Swiftie, and I drove them to Swiftie Clara, where Taylor Swift had been declared the mayor, and the town name changed to Swiftie Clara. Yeah. And I drove them down there, and then they went to the concert, and they had honestly the time of their lives. And I don't know if the listener wants
There's
to be
never
named,
been anything like this.
but what an absolute, complete, and total gift. And I'm so grateful. Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed. I didn't go inside. I waited outside the venue. But the people watching
so let's do the arithmetic on that. You drove them.
Yeah, a couple hours.
Couple of hours to the South Bay.
Right. And we got there early because you have to get there for your merch. you know.
Plus the traffic was brutal.
Right.
There were all these warnings saying, don't go, stay in your home. Taylor Swift is coming to town, don't go anywhere for 48 hours unless you're expecting, it was incredible. It was like there was like a sarin gas leak or something. It was just Taylor Swift coming to town. So anyway, you guys went 2 hours in the car. They get there. Now you have, I just told you, the concert was 3 hours plus. So you have time to kill. Where do you kill it? They don't let you, I don't think, park in that outside area, do they?
It was interesting. The tickets came with a parking pass, which is
another
$200 by itself. I know.
Who is this person who got you those tickets?
The most incredible, lovely, kind woman.
Right. Can you give us a first name, or does she not want her name at all?
I don't know. She did. I'll tell you her name is Robin.
Robin, wow, that's very, very nice. Wow.
So, Robin gives me a parking pass. I think they're gonna because the word is that they're gonna be clamping down. You can't go in without a ticket, and I'm thinking, well, how am I gonna get in, because they're gonna see 3 people in the car and only 2 tickets. They didn't even check to see if I had a parking pass. They just let me roll on in. Everyone.
Wow.
I mean, you could have not even paid to park there and still been able to. So it was just me during the concert and the parking attendants. We made great friends. They were telling me the best place to put my car to get out, because it would take 2 hours to get out of the parking lot. So they have me at a certain strategic time, park on the street in a certain spot. So I made some friends with the parking lot fellas, and we had a great time.
What do you do? What do you do? I should be asking about the concert. I'm more concerned with. I always ask what the parents are doing. What did you do for all that time? Did you read? Did you watch something?
I was going to read. I thought I was going to take a little nap.
Maybe prep the show. Did that ever occur to you?
I thought that would all these things, but you know what happened?
All right.
People found out where I was, and my phone didn't stop ringing. So I spent the whole time just chit-chatting and chatting to the people in the parking lot. I was making the most of the adventure,
Wow.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, that's very, very cool. Good.
And the girls had a great time.
All right. Yeah, you were chitting, weren't you?
They came back to the car full of arms full of friendship bracelets, and just almost in tears.
Yeah.
They had the best time.
That's really cool.
And I'm looking,
and it's her birthday today, right? Julia's birthday.
It's her birthday. She's 14. She'll be a freshman in high school in a couple of weeks here. So, what a present! What an absolute gift!
She's a great, a really great daughter too, right? She's like the. Is that right? It seems to me that she's really well behaved. I hate to use that expression, but
so far, high school is coming. We'll see how this works out.
Well, that's kind of leading to my question. How long do you think? How long before she tells you to F off do you think it'll be? It'll be where she turns to you and literally uses the F word. Do you think it'll be? Now, I'll tell you what. You can say never, or you can say.
I mean, it could happen, but I don't.
It would be off brand for her.
It'll be a while yet. Very off brand, yeah. I mean,
when she does, will you say? Is that what you'll say?
I'll say a lot more than that. I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Pretty wild. Well, Julia, happy birthday. We adore you, and we also congratulate you on making it to the Swift concert. That was truly unreachable. Yeah.
I was looking at tickets beforehand, seeing if, kind of pie in the sky dreaming, could I find something that is affordable? The answer is no. But I saw that she's coming to your neck of the woods. She'll be at SoFi Stadium. I think she's got 4 dates down there, and the tickets are astronomically priced. The most reasonably priced Taylor Swift tickets are in Paris, France, in I think next May for $400. So
wow, that's great. And on the ticket,
more affordable to see her in Paris.
Unfortunately, the ticket to Paris is not that affordable. But once you get there, you've got Taylor Swift. So
smash it with your iron rod.
Yeah, you can smash it with your iron rod when you get there. Smash the like button for
smash it with your iron rod.
For Julia.
I come from regular stock.
I know. I come from regular stock. Clarence Thomas and I, we prefer kind of the quiet nights. You don't want a Taylor Swift type thing. You understand? Kim?
Yes, sir.
Let's do a little newsy thing.
I like
that.
A
little bit. And then I've got Courtney standing by, so we'll just try to keep it to 5 minutes or so. And then Courtney's thing. We're not bound by the clock on this show, but just to and then as I mentioned, we'll get to Foster City, Trump, that's rich, all of that still to come. Smash the like button.
Smash it with your iron
Give me a
rod.
thumbs up. It costs you nothing. And I'll remind you to share this show if you can as well across Facebook and wherever your social media world lives. Also, I have a major announcement as part of Kim's news. So much to do. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's talk about the property manager of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. He made his first appearance in a Miami courtroom today. Carlos de Oliveira was indicted by a grand jury last week on charges including conspiracy to obstruct justice and making false statements to the FBI. De Oliveira did not enter a formal plea during the hearing today. He will be arraigned August 10th in Fort Pierce. Meanwhile, there is a longtime friend and business associate of Hunter Biden expected to testify on Capitol Hill today. His name is Devin Archer, and he will appear before the House Oversight
Is that his
Committee.
Publicity picture? Devin Archer looks like a, doesn't he? He looks like he's in a Christopher Nolan film. Yeah, right.
Pretty
looks like
good looking guy.
Yeah. Wow.
Apparently a longtime friend of Hunter Biden. And I don't know what he'll say. You know, it's interesting.
Seen here from his advertising portfolio.
Depending on where you look at the story is, you know, he's going to drop a bombshell and talk about President Biden's involvement. And then, you know, I think we don't know what he's going to say. He may say nothing at all. So I don't know. Frisco, Texas. This is, you know, never say Frisco here in California, but in Texas, it's okay. It works out. The police chief there in Frisco says officers made a mistake when they held an Arkansas family at gunpoint during a traffic stop.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oopsies.
I think it's a little bit worse than that.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Yeah, okay.
Got a little upset. The officers made a mistake when they held this Arkansas family at gunpoint. Police stopped the car last Sunday on the Dallas North Tollway, and one of the officers inadvertently entered the Arkansas license plate as coming from Arizona.
Oh, my God.
I stand corrected.
Wrong A state. Arkansas, Arizona. I know they all sound the same, but you know.
I don't mean to laugh. It's awful. I mean, they, you know, poor
couple. What we call attention to detail, officers. The officers believe the car was stolen after no records came up. Then one officer drew a gun on the family of four. It was no fun in Frisco, Texas.
Oh, my gosh. That's awful.
And now let's go to a federal judge in Arkansas who is blocking a law that would censor books. The U.S. District Court Judge Timothy Brooks issued a preliminary injunction Saturday after hearing oral arguments last week. The law would ban libraries from distributing materials deemed obscene to children. Plaintiffs in the lawsuit include the Fayetteville Public Library, the Central Arkansas Library System, and the Eureka Springs Carnegie Library. Well, the question is, who picks what's obscene? And how do you
Of course,
know?
It's always, this is absolute insanity. This is, by the way, what they're doing where? Where are they doing this? Where else in the world? Not America. Where are they burning books today? Burning books. Afghanistan is the answer. Yes. The Taliban is burning books in Afghanistan. And this is, you know, part of their effort to cleanse society of, you know, the evil words and evil concepts. It's utter lunacy. And it's just, I would have thought we would have evolved as a culture beyond this, but we evolved 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
I guess you wonder, you know, if that's who you're associated with, then do you not see a problem?
Oh, you're saying you can see that same thing being done by the Taliban. Yeah.
If it's like you're banning books and also the Taliban, are you questioning your alignment there? I don't know.
Right. No, it's true.
Maybe I need to rethink this.
No, it's American Taliban in a way. Yeah.
Cardi B taking matters into her own hands when it comes to unruly concert goers. Over the weekend, someone threw their drink at the rapper while she was performing at a club in Las Vegas. In response, Cardi threw her microphone at the offender.
Wow.
Who was then escorted out of the building. In a video going around on social media, Cardi B can also be seen mouthing something at the person before security hands the microphone back to her. Yeah, I love it. They throw a drink at me.
Good for her. Go, girl.
Whatever I've got in my hand is coming straight for you.
Yeah, don't be throwing stuff at me.
This show is indeed crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. You can find us at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com, the PayPal link, the Patreon link. It's all there. The super chat is live, and we thank you very much. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
That's not fake. That's real.
It's fantastic.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. I'm overwhelmed by your canned applause. It really is. A lot of people would, oh, my God. Well, thank you. Thank you. Please settle down, everybody. We have work to do. It's so great to have you here. This is our last show where we go 10 to noon. Beginning tomorrow, we'll go 11 to 1. And in so doing, we will usher in a new age, the enlightened age. And then Kim will do a show following this one. And her after party show will air on that channel. So again, Nikki will start at 9 on the West Coast. She'll go to 11. I will start at 11 on the West Coast and go to 1 here on the Mark Thompson Show channel. And then if you flip over to the after party live channel, right here on YouTube, you never have to leave this platform. You'll find Kim, and I believe John Daly is joining her as well. Is he a permanent feature, or is he just there for the launch?
I think it's a permanent feature.
Oh, that's very cool.
Well, I'm going to try to keep him. You know, once you get yourself
cool.
a John Daly, you don't want to let go. So
he was a little too expensive for this show, so I'm glad it all worked out. Great. Now I would maybe remove that. Yeah, Kim is running the show today because
I removed you on accident.
Albert is away all week.
Albert, thank you.
And Tony is away today.
Thanks, Tony.
The good thing about Tony is Tony's schedule is so in flux that I get the last second word from Tony that he can't be here. It's like Albert is usually pretty good about giving me Tony is like, hey, dude, sorry, I had to do production stuff. You get this, whenever you talk to Tony, it's like you get this sense that his life is just, he's pulled in so many different directions. So I'm happy that he's part of our little crew, but today he couldn't. He couldn't be here. Anyway, he's normally here to do some of the stuff that, Kim is doing, like putting up this and starting an open and that kind of thing. But without him, we have to lean on Kim. So, Kim, do you have the open to Courtney's segment? You'll have to add yourself to this conversation in order to answer me.
Welcome to Mark's
Red Rum
Murder
Red Rum
Mystery
Red Rum
Monday.
Start the segment yet. I was just asking whether you had it, but all right. I am ready now. All right, here she is, Courtney.
Come on. It's going so well.
It was so really strong. No problem. So, Courtney, welcome.
Hello.
Always great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
We had a very nice night last night, Kim, I'll have you know, and everyone.
We did.
We watched the Apple TV Idris Elba thing called Hijacked.
Oh.
It's about a plane that is hijacked.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It's good.
Very, very good.
Yeah. It's the first recommendation from Michael that I can get behind.
Okay.
First of all, how dare you? Michael is close to 100%. How dare you?
Funny.
Oh my gosh. No, it's really good. Although we were talking about it last night, they're sort of dragging along as many scenarios as could happen on a hijacked plane, right? It feels a little bit long, but it's really good. It's good.
Well, here's the deal on all of these shows. It's not just hijacked. You know, they do 8 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever. There are points, even during Succession, which I loved.
Yeah.
Where you felt, all right, I mean, there's a little padding here. You know what I mean?
Like 4 hours. I'm just suggesting.
So it is true.
But it is good. Just when you want to give up, the end of the episode it gets you again, and then you can't wait to see the next week.
So, Kim, you have the open to Courtney's Murder Mystery Monday?
I do have it. Would you like me to play it again?
I need to run it again because if I need to break it out as a separate video, I want to do that.
Okay. All right, here it
so
comes.
everybody, well, hang on a second. Hold on.
Oh.
I want to talk to everybody. This
Who's
is just
producing this show?
Yeah, this
we're not. We're on our own.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Here's what I need the audience to. This audience will understand and they'll participate.
I'm the news person. I don't know who made me the producer.
All of a sudden, she's the news person. All right, now
deny that responsibility.
I need you to pretend that you've not heard this open before. Okay, if you're listening or watching. So here we go. And,
that should be easy.
Let's do Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Welcome to Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Hey, everybody.
Yes.
Courtney.
Hi.
Wow.
Thank you for having me.
It is so great to see you, Courtney.
Oh, thank
and
you.
Great that you can be
good to have you back.
Part of things. It's great to be back on the West Coast, the best coast.
Of course.
What are you sharing with us today?
Well, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Go-Go Beach serial killer from Long Island. And in that spirit, I thought we would talk about the alleged Chicago serial killer. So there have been many mysterious deaths in the last 15 months, and they do think it's a serial killer in Chicago.
So there are other major cities in the serial killer business.
No, serial killers are, they're all over. Yeah.
Man.
But the issue is that this is not going reported, what's happening in Chicago, for the most part. It's also happening in Milwaukee, and it's also happening in Texas. And I'll get to how they think that they're all connected. But I'm going to focus on Chicago. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So in the last 15 months, 16 people have been pulled from the Chicago River in Lake Michigan for drownings. Now, most of those victims are young men in their 20s who leave a bar or a party and then never make it home. Wow. And so on average, the drowning deaths in the last several years in Chicago have been about 40 to 42. So if you're looking at 16 deaths, that's about 40% of the drownings fitting the same profile. It is at a point where it's just too much to even be coincidental. And so...
So the community that's most affected is this late night people leaving bars.
Yes.
In any one area of town? Sorry?
Just in the city of Chicago.
Oh, wow,
just
that's a huge area. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, again, they're all in their 20s and they're all men. Now, there's been 6 women, but for the most part, they're all men.
Okay.
If we have the visuals, I can show you. If you can go up. So for those listening, I just wanted to show the list of names and all of the accidental drownings. Yeah, if you can go up. Thank you. So these are all the men that
That's a long list of names.
that have passed. Now, most of them had alcohol in their system. Some of them had GHB in their system. But when they left the bar or the party that they were at, they were not highly intoxicated. So several of them either spoke with people right before they left or were on the phone with people as they were walking home. And none of those people communicating with them indicated that these men were highly intoxicated to the point where they might fall into the river or Lake Michigan.
Wow.
So if you go to the next slide.
They keep saying, if it's too tiny for you to see, it says cause drowning. manner.
So
the cause of death, drowning. They find them in the river, so they just put cause of death, drowning.
And the other issue is they're not releasing the autopsy reports for any of these murders, and the FBI is involved. So at some point you start to recognize that, again, this is too many deaths of a similar profile victim to be coincidental.
This is unbelievable, this number of deaths. What is it? What is the total number?
There's 16.
Wow.
The most recent death happened, if you stop here, Noah Enos. He was 26. He went to a concert, and then after the concert, he wasn't seen again. His body was recovered, I believe it was June 17th. And so he's the latest victim. His family is adamant that he did not die by accident, that he was in fact killed. Yeah, as is his girlfriend.
Remains found amid serial killer fears. Here they are, all 12 of them anyway.
There's 12 there, and then there's another. Yeah, it's interesting because...
And then 16 bodies pulled from Chicago waterways since 2022 is in the next graphic.
Yeah. And so it outlines where all of the bodies have been recovered.
Can you go down, Kim, to 16 bodies pulled from Chicago waterways? There you go. Thank you.
So if you go down to the next visual, what is happening on TikTok now is that young men are coming forward and talking about rides they're being offered late at night.
Oh.
So young men in Chicago are reporting a car is pulling up to them, offering them a ride. One of these like gypsy taxis or, ghost taxis. Some of the rides claim to be Uber. In fact, for one of the men, the car pulled up and said, "Well, I'm your Uber." And he said, "Well, I didn't order an Uber." Probably on average, the person has maybe ordered an Uber, but this is what's happening. Now, on several occasions, there have been two cars. So one car will pull up, offer the ride to the young man. He declines, and then that car and another car speed away. And if there's actually another visual of, if you go down, there's a young man. And so he goes on TikTok and yes, that's it. Perfect. He goes on TikTok and he starts to tell the story of being approached about getting a ride. He declines the ride. And then he goes and makes a video about how two cars had approached him for a ride. He declines it. Now, that all happened in January. In April, he posts the video sort of unknowingly that there would be like so many bodies after, and that the same sort of ammo would be happening on the two cars. So if you look at these screen grabs, you can see the two cars behind him.
Oh, yeah.
But again, when he was shooting the video, it wasn't with the intention of capturing the two cars. It was an intention of sort of like a PSA. Yeah. So
I've never been offered a ride coming out of a club late at night, even when I was doing clubs every night. Did you ever get that?
No.
It's just sort of an interesting thing that, hey, you want to ride? It's like, gosh, it feels creepy just in itself.
Well, I was thinking the only time that I've taken a ghost taxi is one time when I flew into Kennedy, and there was a horrible storm, and there was absolutely no way to get a taxi. I think this was before Uber was, or rideshare was proliferated as it is. So I took a ghost cab with like other passengers from the plane because there was no other option. But I don't. It would be weird to get into a stranger's car, I guess, now, even though Uber's a little bit like that. The other theory around what's happening is a connection to the smiley face killers. So the smiley face killers is an alleged group of serial killers that killed young men, that put them into bodies of water in 11 states. And there were 45 men killed.
Jeez.
All college age, all popular, all doing well in school. So seemingly they were all profiled. Now, with every body that was found, there was a smiley face that was graffitied into
that's so gross.
Some
area close
by.
Wow.
So sort of like a tag or a marker of those killers. Now, because of the similarities in the victim profile, and because these drownings are happening right now in 3 to 4 states, there is a theory that this is, again, the smiley face killers either coming back or somebody who's trying to impersonate them for some reason. Now, the smiley face killers I think occurred from 1997 to 2010. So it has been a little while since the smiley face killers have killed anybody with their sort of markings. But it's a really interesting story that is happening currently in Chicago. As I mentioned, the latest victim was July 17th of this year. So definitely something to watch.
Natalie Brooks I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I pulled a couple of photographs and information around the victims. It's difficult because there's 16 victims, but Natalie and Daniel, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, both students at university in Chicago, both killed. Both went missing on the same day. Natalie was actually found first, and Daniel was found later. Both drowned. Yeah, and then if you go to the next slide, this is a young man, Paul. He was at a bar out. He called his friend. He was walking home, but then they found him again, drowned, and mysteriously did not go home, albeit he was on the phone with a friend as he was walking home. And it's a similar pattern with all of these stories. I mean, virtually all of them have the same pattern. Same with this young man as well. He was at a bar.
Jeez,
he left.
It's just brutal.
Same with this young man. I know.
So this
awful.
is gay, straight, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Randomness to everything.
It's random. There were a couple victims that are slightly older. One victim was actually discovered wearing his FedEx uniform. So they're not...
You wore his FedEx uniform to a club? All right.
I'm just saying they're not all exactly that profile, but for the most part, they are. Yeah.
All right.
So very interesting story. One to maybe pay attention to.
And it's still very much
find
ongoing.
Out information around. And people who live in Chicago or have family there might have even more information than I do. But I thought it was a really interesting story. And the only reason it gained some traction was because of the Gilgo Beach murders. And a lot of people were saying, this is happening in our state. This is happening in our city. And it's going unreported or underreported, I should say. So, yeah.
Wow.
Really interesting.
That really is
story.
interesting.
Yeah.
And you think that, you mentioned linkage. You think that there is a link to the Long Island situation just in raising profile, or do you think there actually might be a link in terms of, is it a copycat? It's clearly, I don't think it's a copycat, right? Because it predated it.
Well.
Or did it?
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, the smiley face killers conducted their crimes in 11 states and 45 men were killed. So, and that happened a long time ago. But because of the profile of the victims and because the way the victims are being killed, some people are linking the smiley face killers to this alleged serial killer in Chicago. The reason it was linked to Long Beach is because I don't know how to say this. For the most part, sort of, there were, in the 70s, more highly reported serial killers, right? And now it's somewhat fewer, at least reported, or crimes happening with serial killers. And so the idea that there's these serial killers happening at the same time, when Gilgo Beach murder, the serial killer was arrested, it was mentioned that these killings that are happening in these states with the same pattern and the same victim are, as I mentioned, going underreported. So
I thought of you over the last few days, actually as early as late last week, because there is a story emerging in Southern California that I thought you actually might end up doing. It's maybe one to do next week.
Yeah.
It involves a young soldier, a love triangle, a revelation, and a murder accusation, and now a murder indictment. I think they are indicting this guy for murder. And I think I'm pushing for you to do it for next week, because I think it's fascinating, because there's one outstanding feature about it. There is no what?
Body.
Correct. There is
and
no body.
And that's very hard to prosecute.
Right.
It's really, really difficult.
So, Courtney, as our expert in this field, I would love for you I will campaign during the week for you maybe to give it some coverage next week.
No body, no crime.
Courtney, everybody. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
That's Mark's Murder Mystery Monday for today.
Thank you, Kim.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim, I want to get to our Foster City correspondent and then maybe swing back around, grab some news from you. We have a new sponsor for your next newscast, which is very exciting. You may want to unmute so you can totally be heard.
I was freaking out. We have a new sponsor?
Yeah, you got a new sponsor for your newscast.
This is great.
It'll be the next newscast that will be sponsored.
Okay.
Very exciting. And they're not just any sponsor. They're really, it's an exciting sponsorship. So I'll tell you more about that. But right now, smash the like button if you would. It's the thumbs up. It's easy.
Smash
it's
with
free.
your iron rod.
And please share this show across all your social media platforms as we begin to try to grow the show in different ways. We're a homegrown kind of down-home, homey, homalicious show. But we want to take that home and make it even bigger. So thank you for sharing it. All right, smash the like button. And
with your iron rod.
now let me get on to what I think is a pretty big story.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We had the story some time ago about the fact that, and it's surprising as a fact indeed, that when it comes to rent, this small town is the most expensive rental market in the Bay Area. And that small town is Foster City, everybody. And we haven't had a chance to bring in our Foster City correspondent on this show, I think, since we've been off the radio, since we were on KGO. He is Dan St. Paul.
Welcome to my home.
All right. You can't afford to live there, Dan. Yeah.
How can I afford to live here?
Yeah.
I bought in 1998. So my house, believe it or not, is now worth 5 times what I bought it for.
Oh, it's a wild idea,
but it just might
work. It did work. I love it.
It did, strangely enough. But it's insane.
Have you seen how has the nature of Foster City changed? Has it? I mean, has this expensive rental market changed the consistency of the people who are there?
No. I mean, the people who are here are more or less the same as they were before. It's grown a little bit in Asian population. We're 51.8% Asian, and that includes South Asian.
Yeah, there you go. A little applause for the Asian community.
Yeah, and 31% white, 8.6% Hispanic, and then everybody else makes up the rest. So these are working people. Everybody here is working. You seldom see people on the street during the daytime on the weekdays because everybody's at work, or in their home working. So it's a very much working class town. The work just happens to be in the 6-figure area. So because we're right between the biotech and the tech areas. Biotech being just south of San Francisco, like South City, Brisbane, that area, all the way down here, and then you go further down and you get into more general tech, in San Jose and whatnot. But we're pretty close to everything, and that's what makes it attractive to live here.
Yeah, but it's funny that the median rent for a 2-bedroom unit, $3,770.
Yeah,
and that's nearly $1,200 higher than San Francisco's median 2-bedroom unit rent. Yeah. It basically, the cops in this town just sit on their thumbs the whole time. They got nothing to do. You don't experience the lawlessness and the craziness of San Francisco. You don't have the smash and grabs and the threat to your. There's none of that.
We don't. I mean, occasionally somebody
you feel a little left out, Dan.
Somebody will get their car occasionally, but it's just the what do you call those things underneath that everybody wants?
Oh yeah, catalytic converter.
Catalytic converter. Yeah, occasionally that'll happen, but it's very rare.
Do you not have the homeless people in Foster City?
Well, we don't call them homeless. We call them free range.
Wow. Strong rebranding.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we don't. The thing about the Bay Area and homelessness is that, if you're going to be homeless, where better to go than when it seldom gets below 50 and seldom goes above 75, and we have all these services for everyone. That's one of the reasons that really the Bay Area is a target destination, because we're a sanctuary city. We try to help people. So
but in your part, I mean that
no,
you're
not
right,
in Foster City.
But not in Foster City.
Not in Foster City. No, we're very ecumenical here, and we would if there was somebody that was homeless wandering the streets, we tried to help them. So we get them off the street. They don't come down here. You're not going to find a community of homeless people around here. That's for sure.
Just wild. All right. Before we lose you, and it's great to visit with you always, I want to ask you about Giants, and I know you're a huge Giants fan. You're also.
I am. Yeah. I am very excited about the Giants this year.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Go ahead.
They were not supposed to get this good. And when I say good, I mean above 500. To get into the season, we thought, this is going to be horrible. But
I thought they had a season like this a couple of seasons ago, right?
They won 107 games. Yeah, it was wild.
And they weren't supposed to really perform, and they rocked it.
No. But we get out to the park often. And one other thing about Foster City I should tell you about is that my wife Cara and I, we work out at the Peninsula Jewish Community Center. We're not Jewish, but we take the Jewish exercise classes, low impact kvetching, just a little schwitzing. And
how dare you?
They have a great weight loss program. They put you on a treadmill, and if you try to get off, they play klezmer music really loud. And I
misspoke.
So with 51% Asian people, you don't have to be a member. You don't have to be Jewish to be a member. And if you did, you'd be walking around going, there are so many Asian members of the tribe here. I had no idea. And I thought to myself, maybe this is what explains why Jewish people go out for Chinese food on Christmas. Is that the deal?
I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
So I want to reunite you with someone too.
Sure.
Lee Kopp says, "Hey Dan,
Lee.
Hi from Lee and Eileen. Mark, we shared a bed with Dan one long day doing an infomercial so many years ago. Very memorable. Well, for us, anyway.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
you were a great performer. I always love seeing you as a comic. Thanks. And you're still comicking."
I leave tomorrow for Seattle. I get on a ship and I go up to Alaska for a week and back.
I love that. That's really cool.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun to go. And it's old people, and that's who I am now. So most of my material is all about being old, Yeah.
And
I get it from my fellow old people. I call my friend Stu. I go, Stu, how are you? He goes, I'm waiting for lab results. So the comedy writes itself.
That's just funny as hell. That's really great. Dan, I love you, and I love that you made yourself available to join us. Have a great trip to Alaska, and
great, thank you.
Yeah, man, come visit again. We'll look forward to the next time.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, pal. Dan St. Paul, everybody, come on. Love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Foster City. You want to live there? It's going to cost you. That's the deal on Foster City.
You didn't tell me he was a comedian. That's hilarious.
He's very funny.
I'm still cracking up about the lab results. That's great.
And as he says, that's not even a joke there. It's just it's just identifying the joke, right?
Yeah,
identifying the relatable joke.
Oh,
really,
man.
really great.
I didn't know there were no homeless people in Foster City. That's
now
great.
Everybody's going to want to move there. My niece lives in Foster City, says Eileen. Hey, Dan, my niece lives in Foster City, works for a biotech company. She rents, cannot afford to buy, even with her biotech salary.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, right. With the rents are high, I'm sure the price of homes is high as well.
Maybe Dan has an extra room for her.
Well, it's she's renting already, but I'd like to make a deal here on the show. That'll be something we could do.
It's good stuff.
So, look at this. David said this is kind of been a fan since the Murphy St. Paul days. That's right. Dan was in a comedy duo called Murphy St. Paul, and Sue Murphy was the other half, and she was she's so funny. Was so funny. They were so funny together. So that's really cool, David. I remember the same thing. So, I want to do a little news with Kim, and then I want to do some law and disorder that will include Donald Trump. If you haven't heard Kim's story of going to the Taylor Swift concert, it was in the first hour. You can go back and hear it.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of stuff to get to. So, Kim, your news.
Yeah.
And then we'll do some law and disorder, as I say, and I'll get to the Trump stuff and not only his legal situation, but also the PAC money. We'll get to that. Smash the like button like a boss. Smash it
with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod. And Kim's news is sponsored this go around. Yeah. So I know. So don't mess it up. Have your act together. All right. Kim's news sponsored, and we'll get to it next.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and let's start with a Democratic congressman who says the additional charges accusing former President Trump of wanting to destroy evidence demonstrates a consciousness of guilt. Speaking on ABC's This Week, Dan Goldman of New York says the superseding indictment shows Trump knew his actions and conduct were wrong. The additional charges stem from conversations between the Mar-a-Lago property manager and an employee about the boss wanting the server deleted, as well as a recorded conversation during which former President Trump tells someone he can't show them a certain document because he didn't declassify it. Meanwhile, an attorney for the former president is calling him the most ethical American she knows. Speaking on Fox News Sunday, Alina Habba was responding to additional charges related to the classified documents case. Habba said the Trump legal team will demonstrate the former president turned over every surveillance tape that was requested. She said refusing to turn over video and other material is something her client would never do.
What? I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
Yeah, well.
A lawsuit filed by the state of Arkansas against TikTok will be heard in a Union County courtroom. The state of Arkansas alleges TikTok parent company ByteDance lied about user data being accessible to the Chinese Communist Party. U.S. District Court Judge Susan Hickey of the Western District of Arkansas ruled Friday the popular social media company violated the state's deceptive trade practices law. The case scheduled to be heard in May of next year. The stabbing death of a man at a Brooklyn gas station is being investigated as a possible hate crime, anti-gay hate crime, I should say. Police say it happened at a mobile station on Coney Island about 11 o'clock Saturday night. The New York Post reports surveillance video shows the suspect, who they believe is Muslim, making derogatory remarks about a shirtless man dancing during an argument between two groups of men, which turned into a physical fight. 28-year-old Sibley O'Shea, described by the New York Daily News as a professional dancer who's performed at Lincoln Center as part of an all-queer dance group, was stabbed in the torso. He was taken to the hospital but couldn't be saved. His attacker ran off, and again, police are looking for that person. The ACLU is celebrating what it calls a big win for racial justice and democracy in Miami. A federal judge yesterday sided with the ACLU in its lawsuit over the city's proposed district map. The plaintiffs argued, and the judge agreed, that the proposed map was racially gerrymandered. The judge then ordered the city to adopt a map submitted by the ACLU. City attorney telling the Miami Herald they plan to appeal. There's a Good Samaritan credited with turning in thousands of dollars worth of drugs. U.S. Border Patrol's Miami sector announcing yesterday that a boater found a brick of cocaine in the Keys on Saturday. Hey,
wow.
Dad, what's that floating by the boat? I don't know. Let's scoop it out. The brick was turned into authorities. The Border Patrol says that brick weighed more than 2.5 pounds. It's worth more than $40,000. I mean, I don't know.
Straight up right in, no problem.
Wow, that's
The general American doesn't know how to offload that $40,000 worth of drugs.
Oh, I see.
Right?
You mean, you're saying if you were to not turn it into authorities, yeah.
I mean, if I found $40,000, a big giant brick of cocaine, I'm not going to be on the street corner with little baggies selling it. I don't know.
You wouldn't know what to do with it. Yeah, how to turn it around.
Google it.
Okay. How to Google. Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
Good Samaritan. I think the first thing you do is call the police to take it away. I don't know. Okay. Dozens of people allegedly smuggled into the United States were found at an illegal marijuana plant in California's Central Valley. Merced County Sheriff's deputies say they found 60 people working at this illegal weed dispensary. Authorities say the people were forced to work and live there to pay back the smugglers that brought them to the United States.
Where are my weed smokers at?
No, this is not even smokers. This is a human smuggling operation, and then they're held hostage. They have to work at this place. It's
like
really brutal.
Indentured servitude. That's
exactly.
Right. No arrests made. The investigation continues there. But yeah, that happened in
That's
in
brutal.
Merced.
Absolutely brutal. Yeah.
An inmate from Rikers is back in custody after he tried to walk out of the prison while wearing a corrections officer's uniform.
It's a wild idea.
It just might work.
I actually like that wild idea.
It happened Thursday night at the Otis Bantam Correctional Center about 10:30. The DOC says the correctional officers on duty quickly recognized the man. Hey, wait a minute. And they took him back into custody as he tried to walk out the front doors.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah, it was just one of them. I think only Joe Box this time tried to get out.
The Daily News says the suspect found the uniform discarded in a prison gym, which recently had a partial reopening. So he finds it.
Wow.
And puts
So
it
he
on
found
and says,
the uniform.
Oh my God.
I love that.
I bet I could walk right out the front door. That's
Hey, I mean, you gotta, I guess, give it a shot. I'm guessing that they tack on more time though when you attempt it and they catch you, right?
Yeah. Well,
so
I don't know. I like that he didn't get very far.
Yeah.
And lastly, I will tell you this story which infuriates me. Maybe you can see why. This is a story about Scrabble. I had it right in front of me and now it's disappeared. But I will say to you that the Scrabble championships were held. And I didn't know they were going on. I didn't play,
I didn't.
So
They didn't receive any.
But an Australian man has been dubbed the Scrabble World Champion. His name is David Eldar. He won $10,000 and bragging rights after beating his opponent at the World Scrabble Championship in Las Vegas this weekend. Now, Scrabble's my game, so,
I see.
More than 132 players competed for the title over the course of this 4-day event. Eldar played some unique words like Thrismus and Society, but he ultimately won with the final word. What a letdown. I mean, seriously, the word he won with is women.
Wow, he didn't even win with a dingable word.
I mean, I guess that W is worth, 4 or 5 points? So if you put it on a triple letter tile, a triple point tile, you could, but it just seems like it should have been more, I don't know, impressive.
I'm not a Scrabble player, but I do have a Scrabble story.
Oh, please.
What?
I don't really know, how to play very well or whatever. I went next door. It was our first exposure to our next door neighbors when we moved into the new neighborhood. And they're big show business people, and so I was a little, anxious or whatever. And they're really nice, and they said, let's play Scrabble. They said we had dinner, and then let's play Scrabble. They had one of the Scrabble games, and the actual game rotates, so they really played a lot. Okay, that's a high-end game.
Yeah.
So I am being briefed on everything. She's saying, you do this, you do that, and then the last thing she said is, and I mean, this isn't going to happen. I've never seen it happen, but if you find a word and you use all of your tiles, you get 50 points.
That's right.
And it's okay, fine. So we start playing, and in the first 20 minutes, there is a situation that develops on the board.
What he's got going here is a situation
that I thought, wait a minute. I can use all of my tiles.
Uh-oh.
And she's just sitting, she's a Scrabble player that she's never seen anybody do it. This is unbelievable. And I'm making a first impression on these neighbors who I'm sort of anxious to make a good impression on. And I don't play Scrabble. So I've got all this stuff working and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. You know how you wait and you go, oh, I see this. I hope no one else takes that, you know, that letter so that I can still fill it in.
Right.
So it comes around to me and I lay them all out there. And I'm trying to remember what the word was. It was like.
It's most often you can use all your tiles when you get an ing and then it becomes kind of easy. It
was, the word was monsoon, I think.
Oh,
okay.
Double O's. Nice.
Yeah. And when I first got all the tiles, I thought, this sucks. I don't know what to do with all these O's and stuff like that. The word's monsoon or monsoons. And I used all the tiles and it was my great Scrabble moment. Nice. And after that, it was like I spiked the tile and I was out.
Okay.
It was very cool. But yeah.
And she said, I've never seen anything like this.
Okay. There's never been
anything like
this.
That's
right. So there you go.
Get out of my house, Mark Thompson. You are no longer welcome here.
That was my big Scrabble moment. So thank you. Yeah.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Yeah, smash the like button for my Scrabble moment. Anyway.
I am Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show, and it is sponsored by
Coachella Valley Coffee, everybody. They are our new sponsors. I'm very excited to have them. Handcrafted in the Coachella Valley right here in California. You may know, because I've mentioned Coachella Valley before, there is at least one thing that you must know. Did you see, Kim, I put the link in there to their website. It's CoachellaValley.com. If you can put it up there in the private chat, I have the link. Coachella Valley Coffee, there it is. Small batch artisanal coffee roasting. They roast all the beans by hand. They do a lot of business, but they take care of every bean. I mean, really. And so you have to know this. I love coffee. I have an espresso machine that is like the Ferrari of espresso machines. I have 3 Burr grinders, giant grind. So I take coffee very seriously. This is the best coffee I have ever tasted. You must try it. And there are all sorts of different beans and different, they evoke different tastes. So I want you to go to their website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And I want to give you, and this is the best part, a discount code for this show. When you check out, put in Mark T at checkout, and you'll get a 10% discount on all coffee and anything you buy at the website. They have a bunch of, other stuff there as well. But when I say other stuff, I mean, they have they have tote bags and merch and stuff like that. Anything you buy there, you'll get a 10% discount using the discount code MARK-T. Now, I have maybe 11 cups of this stuff every day. It's so very good. They have espresso beans. They have regular drip, French press. I do it all. And I recommend, and then I'll wrap up, getting like a 2-pound bag. I get a 5-pound bag. The bigger bags of coffee are great value. And of course, now with this 10% discount, it's even better. So one of the things you need to know about coffee, and I'm really happy to have them on the show, so maybe I'm going on a little bit about them, is that it's really hard to find a great cup of coffee. And one of the reasons that there are a lot of low-cost coffees, like you can buy beans and you'll see them in even major stores, major supermarkets for not a lot of money, is because it's old grow, okay? It's beans that have been sitting around a long time. So they discount them to move them out. You'll never get that here. This is all fresh grow. It is a terrific opportunity to taste, if you're a coffee drinker, the best coffee there is. It's Coachella Valley Coffee. Yeah.
Does it taste more fresh, or like it's, the beans are just more fresh, or what's better about this coffee?
To me, it tastes richer. It tastes fuller. It's a little like wine. All of the taste notes are just perfect. Some of the beans have a note of chocolate, Some of the beans have a note that's almost a fruity note, and some of them just have a nice, strong bite to them. I mean, depending on the kind of bean. Knock around their website. As I say, you'll get 10% off anything on the website if you'll put Mark T in at checkout. Coachella Valley, COACHELLA, Coachella Valley Coffee. Welcome to the show. Thank you for supporting this show, and our listeners will support you. By the way, all of their stuff is ethically sourced. They pay everybody, well, and through an ethical standard that they maintain through their entire company. Yeah. And most of the coffee comes from women-owned farms.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because when we talked to the owner of Coachella Valley Coffee, he was saying he looks for women in business because he wants to support their efforts. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, no, it's true. In fact, that's right. And he even funds a lot of those startup businesses. He'll give them money, these women. He says, I always like to give it to the women because I know it's going to the coffee and building the business. Yeah. And so, again, it's new crop. My favorite is the Ocotillo Espresso blend. And you'll also like the Sunrise blend. I'd recommend those two, the Ocotillo Espresso blend and the Sunrise blend. Those, I think, are two pretty popular ones. But again, get as much as you want, 10% discount, Mark T at checkout, Coachella Valley Coffee. There they are with their van. They're all over California and beyond, and they'll ship it directly to you. So
perfect.
Yeah.
That couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
10% at checkout with Mark T as the code at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Right on. Love it. So I guess now your newscast is wrapped up. But
yeah, it is. And I would leave that banner up there for a minute if you guys want to write down the name of the website down.
Write it down. Live it. Love it.
Yeah.
CoachellaValley.com. When you check out, use the code Mark T for 10% off. All right. I have much to do. A little musical palate cleanser, and then we'll get into some law and disorder. Does that sound reasonable? All right.
I like it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I've come from regular stock.
I just want to find 11,780.
Did you really just do that? ABC knows that I feel like this. I've told them. It had nothing to do with them.
May the Spirit guide you in wisdom and grace.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
It was great. I loved it.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Yes, thank you, everyone. It is our big finish in the last half hour. I do want to get to some news of lawlessness and some funky stuff coming out of the Trump world, which really is no surprise, but nonetheless, it's notable. Kim, do you have access to Law and Disorder?
I do. Are you ready?
Let's do it. Here's some Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
The Trump stuff first. Trump leadership PAC spends more than $40 million on legal fees as indictments continue to pile up on the former president. The Political Action Committee Save America has spent more than $40 million on legal fees since the start of this year. They raise most of their funds through small donor donations from Trump supporters. And they spend a little over $40 million on legal costs. They spent over $16 million on costs in 2022. And as you know, the legal challenges to Trump's future mount, the legal bills mount as well.
I was reading that the campaign and the publicity from the legal cases are intersecting. So the legal cases, all the trouble he's in, has now become part of the campaign. So I guess you could say the $40 million expenditure on lawyers' fees is campaign related, right?
Oh, I see.
In a way.
Yeah, he talks about the legal things on the campaign. So you're right. It does seem like that.
How are you?
It does seem that the world of grievance, of course, defines the Trump campaign. They, even in their official response to this information, in order to combat these heinous actions, this is a quote, obviously, these heinous actions by Joe Biden's cronies, and to protect these innocent people from financial ruin and prevent their lives from being completely destroyed, the leadership PAC contributed to their legal fees to ensure that they have representation against unlawful harassment. They're also creating a legal defense fund, yet another fund, to help offset some of the enormous bills incurred. So they want to, cover the legal fees of Donald Trump, who is a billionaire, right? And yet it will be the money of small donors that cover him for the most part. He always talks, and he does talk about this on the stump, I'll throw in my own money. You don't need to worry about it. He's talking about if money's needed on the campaign trail. But the reality is, as you know, he really doesn't. At the beginning in 2016, he contributed $250,000 early on, and of course he got that money back, in multiples. So that's the deal on Trump. Again, Kim mentioned the additional testimony today, right? Yeah. Carlos Del Vera is making his court appearance. He's the guy in the documents case who seems to now be very much part of this thing. The document case seems to be like screaming obstruction of justice and anything more. At least his lawyers are getting paid now, says Melanie. That's right. You mean they're paying the lawyers? That's a change. That's sort of off-brand for them. I mentioned this and do mention it from time to time because I think it's a real problem in the military. The sexual assault that occurs in the military, it's really an epidemic. And as you know, one of the problems is that once there is a sexual assault of some kind or the allegation of a sexual assault, the victim goes to a supervisor but can't find a supervisor that isn't wound up in the military machine. And oftentimes even many members of that military machine, supervisors specifically, are the perpetrators of whatever assault is being talked about. So there's no way, if you will, to adjudicate or otherwise get resolution on these things when you have the violators actually examining the case. No one to complain to. It's a completely corrupt system. Biden gave final approval, this just happened on Friday when we went off the air, to the biggest reshaping in generations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, stripping commanders of their authority over cases of sexual assault and the R word and murder to ensure prosecutions that are independent of the chain of command. I think that really is applause-worthy. He signed a far-reaching executive order. Mr. Biden ushered in the most significant changes to the modern military legal system since it was created in 1950. The order follows 2 decades of pressure from lawmakers and advocates of sexual assault victims who argued that victims in the military were too often denied justice, culminating in a bipartisan law mandating changes. And this is that, right? The White House calling the changes to the military justice system a turning point for survivors of gender-based violence in the military, and said that they kept promises that Mr. Biden made as a candidate.
Good.
So, yeah.
Problem
What's
in
that?
the chat.
What's that?
Hefe21 is trying to buy Coachella Valley coffee, but the discount code isn't working on the website. Oh no!
You put Mark T in there? Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Let me check on that right now.
We might have to call him up.
Yeah, I just sent him a note.
Okay. We'll
try it in all caps, maybe. I don't know. Mark T should work. He said he had it all set up. Thank you, Hefe21. I have my best people on it, Hefe21. We will get to same with Joanne saying the same thing.
Yeah.
No. Try Capital Mark T, maybe. It worked for less.
Yeah.
Capital Mark T.
Try the Mark T in different ways.
Yeah, I think it's maybe it's all caps.
Since we're in the chat, Larry writes in today, Mark, love your show. Why no comment on Biden crimes? I don't think President Biden is being accused of a crime, is he?
Well, I will speak to that in a second.
You're still working on the website issue? Yeah.
I am. First, I want to say this, Larry. You've done something very clever, and I appreciate it very much. You've opened your comment and question with Mark, I love your show. And I want to say that is really clever, smart, and always appreciated. Now let me speak to no comment on Biden crimes. Please be specific, Larry, about what crimes you're talking about. If you're talking about the allegation that Biden in some way is linked to influence peddling associated with his son, I'm happy to have a meeting about that. Show me evidence of that. I've seen nothing. I really haven't. Now, this is a guy who's been in public life forever. He's just been through a general election, and you couldn't have opponents in a general election more committed to Oppo research than the GOP, right? And there is no, look, you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene showing nudes of his son that they jacked off of that computer. She's willing to go that low. So there's no hiding the football here. I think if there's anything in the way of a crime with Joe Biden, in the way, I'm assuming you mean influence peddling, right? Show it to me. Send it to me. We have an email address, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Send me that. I'd be all too happy to review it. I wasn't a Joe Biden fan going to this election. He's still, now, I think when I'm not a fan, I'm not a fan for other reasons, because I'm a little more of a lefty on environmental stuff, and I'd like to see a more aggressive posture taken toward that. I don't like the fact that this Interior Department has greenlit various fossil fuel projects. I don't like, all of these things that are happening in Washington related to the environment that I feel don't go far enough, okay? But so I suspect that, if I don't like Joe Biden, it's for other reasons. I certainly think we get more out of him than I might have gotten out of a Trump administration or any GOP administration. That said, show me anything, Larry. I gave you the email address, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, and I'm happy to discuss it. We've talked about Hunter Biden a lot on the show. Yeah, we have. Look, Hunter's a train wreck, right? Life's a train wreck, but I'm not voting for Hunter Biden. He's not an official in the Biden administration the way that Don Jr. and Eric were, and Ivanka and Jared. So I think we've seen a real train wreck when you let family with no skills in administrate a pandemic. So I really, so far, I'm not avoiding the Biden thing, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, indictments require evidence. Happy to talk about it, though. And by the way, again, thank you for saying love the show, because that is the way to get your comment read. There are two ways to get your comment read. Love the show, and if it's a super chat. So if you in super chat, if you attach your comment to a contribution, of course, I will read it. He did say that he loves the show. Exactly. Thank you, Ricky O'Bear. He gets it. Continuing with law and disorder, a big decision, and I was watching this closely, and this may seem like a little inside baseball, but it's not. There was a guy named Tom Girardi, major attorney, and Tom Girardi stole millions from his clients. Think, how Avenatti siphoned off all that money from his clients. It was supposed to go in various settlements back to the clients, right? Lawyer gets a bit and the client gets the lion's share of these settlements. So this guy, Tom Girardi, same deal. He took millions from his clients. Eventually, after stealing all that money, he was held in violation and prosecuted and all this kind of thing. But it opened up a window on a bunch of other attorneys in California that are doing the same thing, that are denying settlement money to their clients. Originally, more than 1,700 attorneys were found in violation of the rules, and they were enrolled as inactive with the bar, meaning they're not legally allowed to practice law. As of Thursday afternoon, the official number is 1,641 people. 1,641 lawyers are suspended from practicing law in California because they kept money from their clients. To me, that's a huge story. It's, again, there's a way to make this good, and non-compliance is what they call it. They have certain rules for reporting money and how much money gets to clients. And so there is a way to come back into compliance. Not all of them were these rip-off artists the way Girardi would appear to have been. But the state Supreme Court stripped Girardi of his law license last year. The state bar acknowledged mishandling decades of allegations against Girardi. There were complaints for years. He won a case against PG&E. The company agreed to pay $330 million to residents of Hinckley, who blamed cancers and other diseases on contaminated water leaking from a gas pumping station. Mm-hmm. That's from Aaron Brockovich's world. That was the Aaron Brockovich case. Girardi is from that world. Anyway, I thought it noteworthy that 1,600 attorneys were suspended. Some of them will get back into business. What's that, Kim?
No, it is interesting.
Do you know the Chrisleys? Julie and Todd Chrisley?
I don't want to know them. I don't feel like I need to know them, but sadly, I have passed by their little show and know who they are. So, yeah.
Yes, their little show is Chrisley Knows Best. Savannah, 25, and Chase, 27. They were, I don't know how else to say it, but they were imprisoned. Yeah, they're in prison, and they are now experiencing, according to their latest posts, quote, inhumane conditions at their respective facilities. Mm. Their kids are alleging it's a nightmare. It's awful. Siblings and Chrisley Knows Best co-stars Savannah and Chase provided listeners with an update about their parents. Actually, their parents are the parents of Savannah and Chase, Todd and Julie. Todd and Julie were convicted of tax evasion and bank fraud. The husband and wife began their prison sentences in January at Florida's federal prison camp, Pensacola, and Kentucky's Federal Medical Center in Lexington, respectively. Chase, who said he recently visited his father, who's serving a 12-year sentence, Chase is the son, of course, claimed his parents have, quote, no air conditioning. Quote, they're both in states where it gets 100-plus degrees and there's not air conditioning. Her mother, Savannah claimed, has seen rattlesnakes just casually slithering on the floor in front of her.
I mean, it's not supposed to be fun, prison, right?
No, it's, to be fair, I mean, it's no picnic.
This is no picnic, no summer camp.
I mean, it's prison, so we're not going to sit here and act like it should be the Four Seasons, Savannah added. It's prison, so people don't have any sympathy for it. I will say this, and I'm not one to take up for reality stars who are in prison, but I do think prison conditions should be, I'm not, what's the word I want, Kim?
Not cruel and inhuman?
Yeah, I guess not cruel and inhuman. I mean, it's not, I don't think it should be a torture chamber, where the idea is you take their freedom away, and in that, there they are. There is punishment enough. But,
I mean, you treat people as best you can. You feed them and you try to make sure they're safe and you give them a place to sleep and whatnot. But I mean, I live in a warm state, although it's not always warm here. I don't have air conditioning. Just because you're accustomed to, having everything just so doesn't mean you're going to walk into prison and it's going to be all air conditioned and fancy. No.
Yeah, I mean, they're not saying, look, my mother likes the temperature 71 degrees, and in the prison it's 78 degrees.
Well,
they're not saying that. They are saying, look, it's over 100 degrees. There's no air conditioning. This is brutal. I think American prisons who said that they can be brutal.
I've never watched a show all the way through, a Chris Lee whatever show, but isn't their whole shtick like they like the finer things in life in their mansion and spending all their money on things for their kids and fancy stuff? So they kind of did this to themselves. Like when you start complaining about, oh, there's no air conditioning, and your whole background is, that you like all the fancy things, then I think that's kind of what people would assume.
Yeah.
That you're talking less about the basic needs and more about, oh, we're accustomed to better.
Yeah, I think Kim's right. They live large, and so as a result, this is a yeah. Anyway, that's a very it's troubling, and maybe they are really going to shine a light on some of those conditions in prison. Meantime, I've got an insider trading case that's kind of wild.
Oh,
a British billionaire, Joe Lewis is his name, is accused by U.S. prosecutors of engaging in insider trading over a period of 8 years. And listen to how it went down. The 86-year-old tycoon allegedly gathered non-public information about public companies, often while hosting parties on his yacht, the Aviva. All right,
That's
so he
awesome.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I mean, if you're going to collect insider trading information, you might as well.
Yeah, you get him on your super yacht, and it is a super yacht. It's described as a floating palace. Then he allegedly passed those tips on to friends and employees, including current and former lovers, a poker-playing buddy in Argentina, and his private jet pilots, 66-year-old Patrick O'Connor and 64-year-old Brian Waugh. In one case, the feds claim that Lewis received early positive data from a drug trial at Mirati Therapeutics. He told the pilots to buy shares ahead of the official announcement. He even loaned them $500,000 each to make the trades.
Wow.
Believing that the profits could make up for the lack of retirement plan that you don't,
that's nice. At least
get with
take
when
care
you're
of his people,
Yeah, when you're flying around a rich guy. One of the pilots, according to the Justice Department, passed along the Mirati stock tip to a friend. Quote, the boss mentioned it around 6 to 8 weeks to take profit, he texted. The indictment claims that the pilot also said that he thought, quote, the boss has inside info, unquote. But here's the kicker. The pilot assured his friend, quote, all conversations on this app are encrypted, so all good. No one can ever see. Oh, wow.
I misspoke.
What I meant is everyone can see, and we're all getting indicted, everybody. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Of course.
That's the yacht. Look at that.
Look at that super yacht. That's where all the info was gathered, and it went down. Man. Pretty wild.
The headline is, it was supposed to be a retirement gift, but it turned out to be a crime.
Yeah. Well, San Francisco's DA has dropped all of the charges against those two people accused in the carjacking and that crash. This made news because they apparently were accused of stealing a car and driving it over a set of steps in the Castro district last weekend. They're not going to get charged. What's the story on that, Kim?
Well, they might get charged, but I think they're still collecting evidence and witness statements and information. So I don't know if they're, if they're off scot-free, but for now, no charges are filed.
I see.
I doubt it will stay that way, but we'll see. But yeah, the crash was absolutely spectacular.
No, my God, it made, as we say, social media. You know that service Clear? You see it at the airport. You pay them monthly. No, there's the crash scene. I mean, look at that. How could that not make
every flying off Sanchez Street, down through the stairs, takes out a tree, flips upside down. 5 people crawl out and then, are pictured on video walking down the street after this accident or crash. So 2 have been identified and were detained for a time, but no charges filed yet.
Wild. You seem extraordinary that there'd be no charges filed in a car theft and that kind of damage. That service Clear that you'll find at the airport, it gets you've been pre-checked, background checked. They do a retinal scan and they walk you in.
And you have to pay a lot for that, right?
Yeah, you do pay a lot. Yeah. It's worth it sometimes to get past that immense line at TSA. They let a flyer carrying ammunition under a false name. They let that flyer get into TSA, and there was a review that finds that Clear practices a kind of technology that is vulnerable to identity fraud.
Oh.
They are pushing back, saying, this isn't us, it's you. The TSA want to recheck customers' IDs, and they want to build in some fail-safes to the Clear system. But, by the way, when you do go through the Clear system, it just gets you to the front of the TSA line. You still have to get all your stuff x-rayed and, it's still all there. You don't have to take off your shoes and you don't have to maybe do a couple of other things, but move freely through your world because you are you. Yeah.
Or actually, it's because you forked over a lot of cash and paid us. That's why.
That is the reason. That is the reason. And finally, I leave you with this. Uvalde, Texas. It is a remarkable thing that a woman whose daughter was killed in Uvalde is now running for mayor there. Kimberly Matarrubio says that after the tragedy, Uvalde remains a divided community and she wants to change that. She is an underdog in the race, but she says her passion is to improve Uvalde and bring the town's diverse citizens together. The Texas Monthly did a sit-down with her. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll post it to my Twitter feed if you want. Also, my Threads feed. Twitter is Mark T Live. Threads is Mark Thompson TV. But despite the fact that she's not polling super well in Uvalde, she is determined to stay with this race for mayor. The former mayor is running against her, Cody Smith. She feels that, and here's a quote, "He obviously has a lot of experience. I'll give him credit for that. But I believe that it was prior leadership that led to the events of May 24th, and that goes for the city, for the county, for the school. Everybody got very comfortable, and that's exactly where things went wrong. Now is the time for change," she says. So even though I might not have ever held office, I think I bring a lot to the table. I've been navigating our country's political system for more than a year now, and I just want to bring what I've learned to my town to help improve it. Anyway, I think that that's big news out of the world of Uvalde. And,
they weren't doing well with what they had.
Yeah.
That didn't protect their people. That didn't help. So I don't know.
Yeah. Last thing, super last thing. The SAG-AFTRA strike, I promised you an update on that, along with the WGA striking. Something that's happening, there she is. That's the woman who's running for mayor in Uvalde, if you're watching on YouTube. The thing that's happening, there are a lot of things happening in the SAG-AFTRA WGA strike, but one of the things that's happening is that certain productions are getting waivers, okay? Those are independent productions. Now, why do they get waivers? Because in the opinion of the union, because it's the union that has to grant the waiver, right? The union is striking. In the opinion of the waiver, the union is deciding that production has not made a deal with one of the streaming services. And it's the streaming services or studios, and they haven't made a deal with any studio. They are independent productions. Those studios and those streamers are part of the problem, right? That's the negotiation about residuals. It's the negotiation about profit sharing. It's a negotiation about AI, et cetera. Okay, so the union is granting these waivers. Viola Davis, award-winning actress, she agreed to do one of these independent productions. And Sarah Silverman, the comedian, roasted her on it. Okay, how can you do this? How can how can you cross picket lines? How can you? And the response was, well, what do you mean? I'm going to do a production that was granted a waiver by the union. I mean, if you have a problem with me doing this production, take it up with the union. Don't take it up with me. They granted the waiver. So now Viola Davis has backpedaled on this. She's now saying she's opposed to filming her next movie because of all of the acrimony around these negotiations. The Oscar-winning actor's move comes amid scrutiny over SAG-AFTRA's decision to exempt some productions from the strike that are not affiliated with any major studios or streaming platforms. The dispensations have sparked questions in recent days. Dispensations is a ding word. Davis released a statement this weekend after her upcoming action thriller G20. My screen is so dark. G20 was among dozens of independent productions granted waivers by the Guild. Davis is attached to produce and star in that movie, so she's got a lot of stuff wrapped up in that movie. I love this movie, but do not feel it would be appropriate for this production to move forward during the strike, Viola Davis said. I appreciate that the producers on the project agree with this decision. Juvie Productions and I stand in solidarity with actors, SAG-AFTRA, and the WGA, she said. Because she's such a vital part of that project, the status of G20 is unclear. I'm sure they're going to shut it down. Davis is not the only famous actor to speak out after the SAG-AFTRA dispensations, as they've used the word. I mean, these waivers, that select projects are not affiliated with any major studio or streaming platform, that they're allowed to proceed. Under the terms of waivers, certain projects are required to abide by the guidelines SAG-AFTRA has presented to the AMPTP in bargaining. Higher wages, greater share of revenue. I told you about all of these. So they're saying if an independent production has conformed to that, then they can make an agreement with the union and they can get a waiver. But Viola Davis says, not going to do it. Said I was going to do it. Not going to do it. Nope. So she's now...
I misspoke.
Right. I'm now backpedaling.
I wonder if Viola picked up the phone and called Sarah Silverman and was like, okay, could you just talk to me instead of blasting it through the media? You're right. I've reconsidered. It must have been an interesting conversation if they talked.
Right. I think that's right. It should be working, says Cliff. This is let me wrap this up, and then I'm going to give you the Coachella Valley update. That is Law and Disorder for today.
Wait. Yeah, it is
in
indeed.
3. Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
This is the news from Coachella Valley Coffee. You can reach them, put their banner back up there if you would, please, Kim. They are our newest sponsor of Kim's newscasts, and we love them. To me, honestly, and I've told you this before, it is the best coffee on earth. And I've tasted coffee from all around the world. This is the only coffee I drink now. It's spectacular. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And when you check out, use the code MARKT for 10% off everything on the site. Should be 2 F's in off. It should all be working now, says Cliff. No, it's no problem. Just right. The website, shopping cart, everything Everything's been corrected. Everything should be fine. So you should be good. Yeah. So go there, get the discount.
Oops.
Coachella Valley.
Well, I'll fix it in a minute.
Yeah. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. When you check out, use the code MARKT for 10% off anything on the site. Wow. We've done a lot, and I'm happy.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I do want to say that I'm excited. Tomorrow, we start an hour later. Everyone is expected to be here on time. Luis, I'm nervous about tomorrow, Mark. Will I hear an MT Show stinger followed by Dire Straits, Money for Nothing, for 5 straight days? PTSD sucks. Yeah, that's what happened to KGO, is what he's saying. You know, when we went away, and then they played Money for Nothing, and they played Poker Face and everything. Hunter Biden's buddy looks like he's straight out of Succession. That's right. That was the reference. Thank you, Spencer. That was the reference. I didn't have it at the time. Go to CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. You won't be at all disappointed. In fact, you will love it. You guys are going to become good friends, and you'll get 10% off with Mark T, and we love having them as sponsors.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim's show starts tomorrow at 1. We start at 11. Nikki starts at 9. But I'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific. Until then, bye-bye.